Alabama right tackle JC Latham is my third-ranked tackle in this class, seventh-ranked player overall. He's a former top 10 recruit, just about to turn 21 years old, 6'6", 360 pounds. He's a consensus first-round pick, 12th on the consensus board, but this is someone that I honestly feel like I'm a lot higher on than most people. Comparing him to draft boards around the internet, I have him at 7th. The next highest is 9th, so I am technically higher on him than anyone. And the first place you've got to start with JC Latham is his anchor and play strength. Now, we're not allowed to use the word generational anymore, so I'll just say his anchor is historic. I've never seen anyone anchor like this. With JC Latham, there's no such thing as gather steps, needing a couple seconds to drop his anchor. It's just you try to bull rush him, he shuts that down immediately. Part of that's that he's just a massive human, 360 pounds. He actually carries that really well. He doesn't look like a big, hulking, like overweight offensive tackle. That's one of the main reasons I have the Tyler Smith comp, is that you've got the size and power, but it's all in a relatively compact build. But you combine that size and play strength with routine inside hand placement and elite grip strength. Anchor, hand placement, and grip strength are the three elite skills or traits that JC Latham has, and they combine to make him pretty much immune to power rushes. But his hand usage when he isn't jump setting and initiating contact is patient, controlled, and refined. He doesn't fall for stutter steps and hand flashes and get manipulated into an early punch. He plays like a well-schooled offensive tackle that's been doing this for 10 years. He'll use his inside hand to bait out the pass rusher's hands and then land his punch. He'll flash his outside hand and then use his offhand to deconstruct the pass rusher. He really has the talented hand usage that you need to play offensive tackle at a high level in the NFL. I didn't see him lose to speed ever at the college level. I think he has adequate pocket range. When he really needs to get depth in his set, he can cover a lot of ground, seal off the corner, and he does a really good job against speed rushes of not opening up his hips too early, staying relatively parallel with the line of scrimmage for as long as possible. But an issue that I've had with a lot of Alabama tackles is that they just have very limited experience taking deep vertical sets coming out of college. I watched 8 JC Latham games and only found 6 plays where I felt like his pocket range was really tested, and only 2 of those came against a wide 9, and that's how we get players like Evan Neal from a few years ago who never really got beat to the outside in college, and then they get to the NFL and they just can't reach their landmark to save their life. So just seeing him move, I view him as more of an average to adequate athlete, and against explosive NFL speed rushers, I could see him having some issues protecting the corner. I also don't think he has great slide quickness to mirror inside counters. Now, he has a really firm inside hand, so if you get into his frame and then try to work inside and he's already got that hand placement secured, he can just stick up that arm and you're not going anywhere. But against Auburn, he had a couple reps where he technically won, but they were kind of like barely hanging on by the thread wins. One of them was a spin move, one was just a stutter step inside counter where he was able to protect Jalen Milroe, but you can tell he's just a little bit heavy-footed, and projecting it to NFL competition where you've got Micah Parsons slanting inside through the B gap, it's easy to imagine him having some issues in those situations. So in a phone booth, he's as rock solid as they come in pass protection. How he handles open space in both directions, I think he has the hand usage and the technique that you want to see, but the movement skills and the foot speed are slight questions for me, and I think he's a player that could potentially end up as a guard depending on what scheme he goes to. As a run blocker, he has a very similar strengths and weaknesses profile. He creates so much displacement on down blocks and double teams. The Georgia game and the Texas A&M game, he's just driving dudes off the line of scrimmage. It's not even that out of the ordinary for him to move a 3 technique 10 to 15 yards off the ball, and he's just a nasty finisher in both phases. Tons of pancakes as a run blocker. He can flatten defensive linemen. He tosses around linebackers like a kid putting away his toys, and from what I've watched, he has more kill shots in pass pro than anyone in this class. So it's not only that he has the ability and the physical dominance, but he also has that aggressive demeanor that you want to see for an offensive lineman. At the second level, I was really impressed with his combination of finesse and power. For someone of his size that isn't this elite fluid athlete, I was really impressed by his location skills in open space. He's also very aware of run blitzes. He can slide over a gap, pick up a blitzing linebacker, and save the play. But then again, he has the strength and tenacity to finish consistently. The inside hand placement that you see in pass protection, that extends to the second level. When he reaches his target, he latches on and he's either driving them downfield or throwing throwing them into the ground. I debated even putting this as a weakness because I only saw it happen 2 times, but there were 2 times that he was leaning into a down block and he let the defensive lineman swim over the top. That could be something where he's looking to get those highlight blocks and resulting in negative plays in the process. And then similar to what I said with most Alabama tackles having limited experience taking vertical sets, he also has limited experience blocking wide zone. The few reach blocks that he did have on his tape, I thought he showed good body control, really good understanding of angles. He seems to have the fluidity and flexibility to establish playside leverage on his block, but it's still hard, if not impossible, to really project his fit to a wide zone blocking scheme. And then the last thing to mention with JC Latham is that he has been a heavily penalized player over his college career. 21 penalties over the last 2 seasons. I don't have anywhere to look for splits on those penalties as far as what penalties they were. I know a handful of them were false starts, so that's definitely a negative that he has to clean up. So to me, JC Latham is a clear top 10 player, right outside of what I would call a blue chip prospect. I think for a gap scheme, he's a no-brainer day 1 starter. Zone heavy schemes might be more of a risk just because we don't have that big of a sample size to evaluate him, and I think ideally you would want to keep him out of vertical sets as much as you can. I don't say this with every offensive tackle, but it applies with JC Latham. I think there is a really good fallback option as a guard if he doesn't work out at tackle. His power and technique, I think, will translate to any of the 4 offensive line spots. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Also, let me know in the comments any NFL players or teams that you'd like me to cover.